Storywalker Fred was an elevator repairman who spent his weekends storywalking as he pleased through all the wondrous tales and greatest adventures of our time.
From season 4, episode 4 is in the books, and we've got some Super Mario magic mushrooms, a Super Mario elevator mechanic, and a bit of breakdancing in the pool. So let's dive in, but not like Sophia. Welcome to Real Enigmas and Theories. Spoilers ahead if you couldn't tell by the title and thumbnail. So without further ado, let's cook. Now, from the very first scene, even before the title sequence, they jumped right into something that I've been paying attention to since last season, and that's Miranda's paintings and outspoken dialogue about the connections to this place. Henry stated that his wife painted the man in yellow and all sorts of things that we notice in Frumlin. Last season, he said Miranda spoke about the children in the tower, multiple people trying to save them, and that she was a chosen one. He also added in there that Tabitha must be a chosen one too. And Miranda did all of this before she ended up in this place with her 2 children. So this means Miranda went into town knowing all of this and being the only person that we know of with direct visions of this place before coming there. We do know that Abby and Tabby had some dreams of this place as little girls, and possibly Randall as well. Bacta's grandmother knew the melody rhyme before Bacta got there, and Tilly said that the tarot cards had been telling her of this place, but she didn't realize the signs. But Miranda's different. She's the only person that we know of that had direct recollection of this place before she got there. Now, her painting of the man in yellow is a younger version of the man that we see today, so that implies that he actually ages. Victor tells Henry that the man came in the car like the rest of them, and he appeared to be just like one of them, but he wasn't. So this means that the painting is most likely a version that they ended up seeing in Frumlin, and Miranda and her children were there to witness the arrival. In this episode, we saw the man in yellow at the 1978 massacre, but he looked like he had aged to the version that we see today. This could mean that the older version came back to 1978, or he aged between the time Victor seeing him and the massacre. Either way, it appears that this was the first time Yeller McNasty encountered Julie storywalking. And this also implies that Miranda had full knowledge of the children in the tower, the bottle trees, the stone slabs, and the many failed attempts to save the children, the boy in white and the man in yellow. And it means that she knew about all of this stuff before she got there. And Henry told all of this information to Tabitha in episode 2 of season 3. And not one time has she or Henry told Victor about this. Victor thinks that he is the reason why his mother went to free those kids in the tower, but she already knew, unless Henry is lying about it, and there's a deeper reason to those paintings. I mean, in my opinion, they don't look like they're 40 years old or some paintings that have been sitting in the basement for 40 years. And when boys suggest that they asked Victor about the man in yellow, Henry had a very strong pushback on that, and he insisted on speaking with his son alone. And Henry's reaction to the information about Miranda being eaten was type strange to me. I know it's kind of crazy to see that drawing of a young Victor's, but it wasn't like it was a 4K picture. His reaction was like Sarah's reaction when she hears the voices. There's definitely something up with Henry, and I think that we're going to find that out this season. As far as Yeller McNasty, I do not think that's his original form. I think that it's just one of his forms that this entity takes on each cycle. Perhaps each cycle the entity takes on a new form, and this time it's Sophia. Maybe this person is chosen from a previous cycle and it comes into town masquerading as one of the trapped travelers. It kind of makes me wonder if Victor will recognize Sophia at some point. But Victor said that everyone thought he was like them and he wasn't. And we see the same thing happening with Sophia. She's wiggled her way into town unsuspected so far, and this is the part where they tear themselves apart. So it could be close time for another massacre like the 78 massacre. And I think we have some confirmation that the voices in Sarah's head has been the man in yellow entity this whole time. Maybe not all of the voices that she heard, but she is demonstrating that she can speak to Sarah, and she has stated that she's seen Sarah's kindness, and she handpicked Sarah's house to live in. She later brings up the story of Abraham, and to me, that indicated that she was testing Sarah with the pitcher of water. And that situation also mirrors when Sarah tried to delete young Ethan as well. Her brother ended up being another offering or another sacrifice, and Ethan was spared, just like Abraham's son was spared. Sophia needed to know what Sarah would do and how far she would go. And I told you about Sophia's connection to Proverbs, and now we're getting more biblical reference with the Abraham story. Sophia meaning wisdom in Greek, and her pulling out the wisdom teeth, Smiles Davis having the wisdom teeth in his pocket, and also Fatima's wisdom tooth falling out during her pregnancy. You have the owl-looking figure on the steps of Colony House, Elgin crocheting owls with his grandmother, and the owl between the beams in the barn are all references to wisdom. Oh yeah, something I noticed that was pretty dope on Julia Doyle's Instagram was the wisdom tooth in her charm box long before season 3 even aired. It makes me wonder when she was cast for the role of Sophia. But the funny shit was how she tossed herself in the pool and ended up like Yamcha. And with the way the man in yellow was stacking them gang signs, ain't cooey, cuz. I was surprised to see how swollen her arm was after Christy said it was broken. And that might seem trivial right now, but I think it may be hinting that Sophia is able to take damage in these human forms. I also found it very interesting that Sophia has a broken arm while Ethan finds the bird in the woods with a broken wing. And it's also important to mention that that bird was not a crow. And we've seen rats and worms, and this makes me ponder Sarah's question in season 1 about the worm knowing what kind of place it's in. One thing's for sure, and that's if the bird's broken wing and Sophia's broken arm are connected, that would mean that the entity is trying to encourage Ethan even more to find the Lake of Tears by placing signs in his pathway. Now, this part I thought it was crazy too. Before leaving the settlement, Tabitha went to Julie to get her ready for the trip, but Julie wanted to stay back home and go on a quest of her own. But Tabitha was against leaving her there alone, despite her just writing a letter, leaving it in Donna's room with instructions for Donna to take care of her children just in the last episode. Julie and Randall were on the bus trying to find some clues in Ethan's books, and Randall actually comes across Storywalking Fred in the Grand Gulagog book. Storywalking Fred is described as the distant cousin of the Gulagog, who is also an elevator mechanic and actually reminds me of the mechanic Slowwalker that we've seen, but more importantly reminds me of Super Mario. I mean, look at him. He looks like Mario. He has the red hat on and complete with the magic mushrooms right there in the storybook. Super Mario takes the drain pipe portals that act like faraway trees, and now Jade is popping magic mushrooms like Mario when he gets his power boost and grows bigger. Elevators are also devices that take people to different floors of a building, so the transportation vibes are cooking real heavy with Fred, Mario, Jade, and Julie. This thread of symbolism also connects to Boyd saying that he was stuck in a chimney, and the other Christmas symbolism that we've seen throughout the show. The mushroom symbolism goes through Siberian groups who use the Amanita muscaria ritually and their reindeer that are known to eat the mushroom. This is where we get the flying reindeer angle. And through the mushrooms, you can achieve altered states and shamanic travel. Siberian shamans entered homes through roof openings or smoke holes during heavy snow to deliver dry mushrooms. And that gets compared to St. Nicholas coming down the chimney. And this winter solstice ritual represents the darkness, rebirth of light, evergreen life, gifts, spirits, saints, supernatural visitors, and ancestors. And what acts as the glue to all this thread of symbolism is the actual Storywalker Fred being a distant cousin of the Gulagog. In other words, the Gulagog and Storywalker Fred are family. And that fact makes me question if Storywalker Julie is the long-distant cousin of someone or something in Frumland. And I've been saying on this channel since season 2 that Jim is related to the architects of the lighthouse, and maybe the Grand Gulagog book just gave us a clue that this could be true. Perhaps the Chromonacle book and the Grand Gulagog book represent two different factions within Frumland. The Chromonacles, which are Jade and Tabitha, and the entities or beings who initiated the lighthouse or trapped these beings within this place. And that could be represented by the Grand Gulagog book. Something is telling me that this place is actually grooming Ethan to join the dark side or connect with his ancestral link to Frumland. And I haven't forgotten about how Ethan was looking at Victor's gun when he upped the revolver on Randall. I wouldn't be surprised if Ethan has it tucked away somewhere just like he got that radio. I mean, we've seen Victor ball up in a corner and cry, but don't forget about how he sprung into action with that rope to get Julie and himself to safety at Colony House, and how he was about to smoke Randall over a goat. Makes me wonder if Victor has ever had to use that gun before, and where did he get it from? Now, here we have Fatima upstairs getting ready to get into some arts and crafts, and it seems that she has erected a giant dog nipple in the middle of the floor. My bad, that came out wrong. But she tells Boyd that she's making a monster, and then she breaks it down to him about a champion golem to give her strength and protection. She recalls her father telling her that there are many roads that lead to the divine, and I took this as another Wizard of Oz reference, being that L. Frank Baum included in his lore that there were several yellow brick roads from Munchkin Country to Emerald City. It was Fatima who gave us our first Wizard of Oz reference in the room with Julie back in season 1 when she spoke about getting high enough that even a nightmare could seem like a dream. I spoke about this heavy last season, and the symbolic reference is linked to the entire field of clues about Julie and Tabitha that was actually brought up in season 3 when Julie went to get Fatima's weed stash. And this place is definitely testing her theory and putting her calm, beautiful nature to the test. And speaking of, I'm also wondering if Boyd's ghost ring was like those hands that tried to pull his arm into the dirt. Was it really there, or did he imagine it? I spoke about the infinity symbol and its symbolism in my trailer reviews, but I noticed that Boyd's arm didn't have any dirt on it, and it's so obvious that the hands weren't real, because why didn't he have any dirt on his hands if his arm just got pulled through the dirt like that? Maybe this could be the same thing for the ring, and it's just something in this place trying to point him in a certain direction. I don't know. But this ring symbolism is another nod to 47, and with Sophia in town right now, I'm wondering if her presence offsets the 47 people occupancy number. In other words, does she count as one of the 47 people that have to occupy this space at one time? Or will we be getting another traveler soon that would fill up that empty space and keep this place in that divine number? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Moving right along, it was nice to see Bacta at the diner again. We got a glimpse of her in the last episode, but this time we get to see her offering the olive branch to Sarah. I mean, the people there do know what Sarah had done in the past, but most of the travelers don't know that she took out Elgin's eye yet. And I'm wondering if Bacta's feelings towards Sarah will change when the truth comes out. For now, it seems that Boyd is smoothing things over with Acosta, and she wasn't in this episode, so I'm assuming that she's still in the basement at Colony House sorting through those items and those things from the past. Remember, that's where Julie finds that Polaroid camera and gives it to Elgin, so I'm wondering if she'll find any other cursed items down there. Someone in the comment section put me on to the fact that the camera had opened and closed on its own before Christy worked on Elgin's eye socket, and Boyd putting it in that tube bag and kicking it under the bed made me shake my head a little bit, and we haven't seen much about that since that episode. I don't know, maybe the camera will come back into play later. And Elgin may have spoke too soon when he said that the kimono demon wasn't bothering him anymore. Or perhaps her being the midwife for Fatima and taking the egg down the hatch was her only purpose. Either way, Boyd knows that that camera is haunted because it showed him his house. And I know damn well I wouldn't want that shit up under my bed. So why would he just kick it under there and leave it? Maybe he did it not thinking about it, but we'll know. We'll find out soon. And Mari and Christy seem to be pretty dismissive about Sophia's religious beliefs, but if they only knew what we knew, they would realize that Sophia is going to have something biblical for that ass later on. And I don't think they'll be chuckling when the shit hits the proverbial fan. Either way, I know that next episode, Jade will be tripping heavy, and I think it will unlock some of the memories that will force this town to push back even more, because we know that that knowledge comes at a cost. And this notion that we get from Sophia about this being an important story is starting to make me think that the show is referencing the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh journeys into the forbidden territory, crosses the sacred thresholds, faces monstrous guardians, and seeks the hidden knowledge from an ancient survivor. And through all of this, we learn that death cannot be beaten through strength alone. Now compare that to Mr. Fish and Loaves' strength not being able to save everyone. Tabitha digging exposes the underworld beneath the town. You have Jade's symbols pulling him towards that forbidden knowledge that comes at a cost. You have Victor becoming the traumatized survivor who remembers the old destruction, while the monsters operate like guardians enforcing the boundaries of this prison. Even the sacred forest in Gilgamesh guarded by Humbaba lines up with Frumlin. The faraway trees, the bottle trees, the caves, and the hidden settlement. And both of these stories treat trees like portals into the divine or a monstrous territory. Gilgamesh finds the plant of life only for a serpent to steal it and renew itself with the plant. And that connects to Frum's cycle of death, rebirth, reincarnation, and stolen renewal. Also, the town keeps shedding generations like a serpent shedding its skin. You have new people arriving, old stories repeating, children remaining trapped, and the same archetypes seem to return in new bodies. And Sophia saying that this is a very important story. Gilgamesh is the oldest surviving story of a man trying to outrun death, while Frum feels like a modern mystery box version of that same death myth. A place where the forest, monsters, children, tunnels, survivors, sacred trees, all are part of one ancient power system. But as far as this episode, overall, I think it was another slower installation, that major points had already been given to us in the trailer, and a weak-ass reveal of what was really in the pool. I had made a joke predicting that it would be Dale down there breakdancing, but it was actually Sophia down there break-arming or arm-breaking. I don't know how you want to say it. Mari ran over there so fast, I thought she was going to jump down there too, but I really wish they would have shown us Sophia falling in there. I wonder why they just left the cut on Sarah and we only got to hear the scream. I think it would have been a good time to show us the fall and the arm breaking, since the reveal of what was actually in the pool was so weak. At least they could have gave us some good shots. But let me know what you think. Drop down in the comments and give me your thoughts on this episode. And if you like this video, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff. Share this with somebody that watches the show. Hype me up, and if you're not subscribed, hopefully this will be the video that makes you do it. That's all for my video this evening. I'll catch you in the next one.